Greetings. Don't you have anything better to do than to be here today with me? I used to hear people that come to Robert's satsangs talk amongst themselves between satsangs. And almost universally, they said they like coming to satsang because Robert's voice was so soothing. Also, the stuff he talked about was very soothing. I didn't find it soothing. As he said, you don't exist. And he left it at that. He never explained what he meant by you don't exist or the world doesn't exist. Because obviously it does. And as I've told you before several times, after Robert moved to Arizona, and I was still in Los Angeles, I was feeling especially isolated and lonely because I didn't have satsang to go to anymore. I felt like I didn't exist. So I called Robert in sort of a panic and said, Robert, I'm very scared because I don't exist. And his response was, of course you exist. You're speaking to me, aren't you? He just shot down his whole message that I've been listening to for 5 or 6 years. Of course, I exist because I'm talking to him. Does that mean I'm only existing when I'm talking to him? Or that his message is bullshit of some sort? And as Mark correctly pointed out, it's bullshit. I could just as well say, along with, who's that guy that says, what me worry?
Alfred E. Newman.
Yeah, somebody's at the door, and I don't feel like going to it. Anyway. What me worry? And isn't that what Robert was saying? Just relax. Don't be paying much attention to the outside world. Pay attention to yourself. And I know that most of you probably don't find yourself very entertaining. That's why you come here, to be entertained. But I have nothing to say other than relax. You spend all day long worrying about things or waiting for something to happen. Relax. Learn to just be yourself. And what you can do when you're just being yourself is to really feel yourself. You can feel your body. You can watch your mind. You can feel your face. You can feel your hands, your feet, your butt as it touches the chair. And you can go deeper. You can go deeper till you reach that place of just being aware and conscious without any thoughts. And you just sit there in your own awareness, aware of whatever. But the quieter you get, the less inclined you are to do any naming specifically of what's going on inside of you. You become thoughtless or more and more thoughtless. And what you're doing is experiencing yourself at deeper levels. Levels not connected with the world normally. You become one with silence. Not at first. I mean, it takes you a long time to really just groove on yourself. And the most basic, fundamental, primitive experiences you can have, which is of your own self, sitting or lying in bed, just experiencing one's own self. The feeling of tension or muscles in your back and neck. The feeling of how complete quiet makes you feel. The experience of emptiness inside your body and mind as you go deeper and deeper into rest. And then you find, in comparison with the huge activity and worries of everyday life, this relaxed nothingness feels very welcome. It's getting to know yourself, not as you think you are, but as you really are. And more you can see that the most basic part of you is nothingness. Just fucking quietness. With no tension. No thoughts of what I have to do. Just being and feeling myself as alive. And as you go deeper and deeper into this state, you begin to feel your own basic beingness, what it's like being alive in your body. There's no words here, no activities here. Just the feeling of the entirety of my body, mind, and everything else at rest. That's why some people come here, because they get to shut up, not have to say anything, not have to think, and they get nailed into their own beingness. But many had the thought or began to think that it was Robert's presence that gave him this access into silence, when in fact it was their own silence and their own ceasing of activity that brought this peace. But somebody who's very agitated, whose mind keeps racing around, it's kind of hard to relax into this silence. And then they question themselves, like, why am I doing this? It's an escape. Yeah, it is. It's an escape from tension. And it's getting to know what your own basic state of being awake and alive is for you. Something a lot of people never get to know because they're always busy in their external world endeavors, and even their dreams reflect this agitated state. But you can learn to just be in a place where you're living and accepting your own beingness as the beginning and end of your experience in that moment. You don't have to daydream. You don't have to think about what you're going to do after satsang. Of course, some of you probably do think, what am I going to do now? How do I get away from this satsang? Can I just turn my camera off and disappear? Will people notice that I've disappeared and wonder about me? And what do I think about that? The impression I make on others. I know Karima is always concerned about the impression she makes when in public. I have no concern. Because I'm utterly useless. I have no purpose to serve anyone, not even myself. So, What, me worry about what Mark might think of me after satsang's over? Or what Jay may say to Vesselina later about satsang? No, I'm too stupid to follow all that. My mind is not busy. You can just ask Karima. What do I do all day? Nothing. I sit in this chair and watch television, especially the news. I like watching the news to see who's fucking up the world now. What's Russia doing now? What's Poland doing now? It's all very interesting to watch, but to not be involved. To see the world as if you didn't exist. To just be aware of it around you, but have no agitation about it. It's a rest, a complete rest. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Your telephone's been disconnected. No one to talk to. You're all alone. You're all alone, Chris. Why do you come here? You ever ask yourself that, or you just do it? You think you'll learn something here? You're right, you won't. Because I'm not teaching anything. Except shut up and relax. Get to know your basic state of being alive and groove on it. When you first do it, the first few years, you can go through periods of incredible bliss as your mind stops and you rest into your own self. Because at first, that aloneness and that quietness robs you of all your anxiety. And for the first time, maybe in your life, you begin to feel yourself. And then begin to realize that there are all kinds of levels of awareness and of the content of your awareness, depending upon how relaxed you are, or one-pointed you are, or surrendered to your own self, your own existence. Just sink into your own existence. You can feel your body relaxing and falling backwards into the cushions. And the more you practice, the easier it is and more quick it is to get into the totally relaxed state, where the mind doesn't speak, and yet you're aware of the outside world, as well as your existence in your own body at the same time. And when your eyes are closed, there's no separation between inner and outer. It's all the same. Your universe is immense. It has no limits except your imagination. And as you settle into your quietness and the stillness of your body, you begin to feel more and more solid. Not like you have movable joints at all anymore, because your body's so quiet. You don't really feel outside of it. You just feel the inside of silence and quietness. And as you drop deeper into that quiet awareness, you can begin to feel more and more blissful. Because you're experiencing your own self for the first time in many, many years. You can realize that you've been separated from your own beingness all this time because of thinking and speaking and reaching out when all that you ever needed was within you. That peaceful state of unity consciousness where nothing moves. And yet you can move if you want. You have that freedom still. And these states get deeper and deeper. And the deeper they get, the more you leave the world. until you get all the way down into the depths of yourself. Then suddenly you turn around, so to speak. Instead of facing inward, it seems, you face outward and there's only the world. There's no you anymore. There's no inner and outer. There's just the entirety of the world, and you are that. That's one experience. That's a big one, too. So many spiritual teachers point to that as the ultimate state, but it's not. It's just one among many, many states. But there's nothing to be learned here. There's nothing for the mind to feed on. The only thing to be done here is to be, exist, feel. That's all that there is. The thing is, you've entered a different world than you were before. Before, you were just a loose cog in an immense universe. But now, you have swallowed the universe whole. Become it. When you're staring outwards into yourself. You don't have the whole world in your hands. You are the whole world. And this is the beginning of the understanding that only you exist. That the external world is just an appearance. So don't be too concerned by it. Then you begin questioning all appearances, including your appearance as yourself in meditation. Is this current experience real? Or is it just a passing phenomenon? And this is what other teachers say. It's all just a passing phenomena. Nothing's real. Whatever you're looking at, Vesselina, is not real. So there are two vastly different points of view. the world is real or the world is not real. Then maybe you can begin to see that all this is bullshit. This is internal creation of stories to entertain you, as to figure out whether the world is real or unreal. What is real or what isn't real? Doesn't matter. So you can either pretend that the world isn't real and therefore not be concerned by anything going on in it, or you can pretend it's real and everything matters and get very involved in it. But the more involved in it you are, the less you are in yourself anymore. Involvement in the external world takes you away from your own beingness. So the key is to, over a period of time, be continuously aware of your own beingness and also of the external world. And make no judgments about it, which is real or not real. It is as it is. But the other thing is, this narrowing of one's attention down to oneself creates all kinds of spiritual experiences, bliss states, oneness states, absolute silence states. But it makes you want to question why you're so caught up in the world. When if you get caught up in yourself, it's quite relaxed. The agitation comes because of the complexity of the world and the complex nature of relationships, of 2s and 3s and 4s and 10s and 20s. Now, right this second, can you find your inner silence? Can you find that emptiness within and rest in it? Can you feel your back, your shoulders, and your neck, your mouth, your face, your legs? Feel the unity of your body and just rest in it. Most people are too busy in the external world to slow down, to pay attention to themselves. Generally, when people start to become aware of themselves, the awareness is not of themselves, but of how everything under the sun affects their mood, their thinking, their desires. So it's not really being into oneself. It's looking into oneself to see how the world impacts me at any moment in time. But you have to get beyond that. Quiet down. In this state, Vesselina has escaped all of her worry about school. Nothing to bitch about here, Vesselina. You're just relaxed. Let the fullness of God realization come to you. Don't seek it. But in your quietness, it comes to you. It serves you. It bows down to you. But you need to become empty. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. You go to satsang to lose your anxiety, to lose your preoccupation with the external world, and instead become preoccupied with yourself. And it's the opposite of narcissism. Narcissism is being centered on yourself and how the world can serve you. But this way of becoming empty and quiet allows God to enter. And after a while, of being quiet, you begin to notice the presence of God in you. There's a sense of awe, which passes after a while. But as part of realizing God within, how you share life with so many other entities around you. You're one among billions, and yet there's no one else. There's only you. No. School teaches you how to be one among billions with all of its rules, all of its understandings, all of its valuations. But when you're alone in yourself, there's no up, no down, no good, no bad, no saintly or devilish. There's just none of that. None of that which can be described. You've escaped being understood by others or condemned by others. You're beyond the mind. It can't touch you. But you can use the mind for your own purposes. Why don't you find out what they are? In the end, the only purpose you have is to watch. Experience God within. Experience the world without. Experience the nothingness of your own being. And the sentience that underlies that nothingness. Without sentience, awareness, that nothingness would not be recognized, nor would somethingness. In the interior world, there's only beingness. There's no room for mind there. Mind is for describing and calculating what's going on in the world. But awareness's intent is to be aware of yourself. Make use of that mechanism to be aware of yourself. Does anybody have any questions or any statements? Does anybody want to start their own school of bullshit? Chris.
Yes, Ed. Question is when sitting in silence and Kundalini is going like crazy and doing a thing like what is called in English, like a boogle head, and I'm feeling like it's a distraction, kind of a distraction as well. Would you pay attention to it or just turn away?
Either or both. It doesn't matter. There's no need to learn anything. You just, as it arises, you can pay attention to it until you don't feel like doing it anymore, and then ignore it. But there's no one set pattern. Yeah, life is infinite, and there can be infinite ways of approaching it or dealing with it. And you can deal with it like you see fit in the moment. If it seems interesting, watch it. Are you experiencing a lot of Kundalini?
Yeah, it's been running more than 10 years, 12, I think, because sometimes more, sometimes less. Was really caught up in the world many years. These are times where it's less active, and now the last day it's started. Yeah, maybe because I restarted to sit more in silence and just be more time with
How do you
myself.
experience it now?
Now it's not really active. Yeah, it's just like waves. Yeah, starts from the root chakra. There's some identification also with some I-ness or some kind of this thing, because when I'm just trying to sit in with the feeling, the I am, it also it centers to this point, and it raises up, and yeah, it's like these points just up here in the head where it's really active, and down in the root center or chakra. I can feel it the most, and yeah, the body is shaking and vibrating. And nothing special. I'm just the question came up of, yeah, I don't know if I should pay attention to it or just let it do its thing. Yeah.
You could do either. Or both. Try to do both at the same time.
Mm.
Invent a new method.
Yeah. I think doesn't really matter. Yeah.
No, it doesn't, not in the long run. In the short run, your attention may be preoccupied with what do I do with this? But in the end, if you just relax and know this kind of shit will constantly come your way your entire life, what's the way to deal with it? Is whatever you're doing in the moment is okay. Running away from it, immersion in it, accepting it, surrendering to it, or ignoring it. It's all good. Each one will teach you something else. But after a while, you don't want the lessons anymore. So whatever happens, happens. You can go for a long time just learning and learning and learning about these internal processes. But in the end, you're going to be dead and they'll all be over. So that's the main thing to keep in mind, that whatever is bothering you in the moment is only momentary. In the long run, you're going to be dead. So relax. Pretend you're dead already. Do whatever you want to do. This is about freedom, including freedom from methods of practice or seeking enlightenment. Instead, just sit, experience yourself and what's going on inside of you, and let it go at that. If you feel an urge to take control, do that for a while. If you feel like being out of control and surrendering to the feeling altogether, that's a wonderful experience. But in the end, there's only you. So just learn to be you, however you are in the moment. It's okay. But on the whole, when it comes to Kundalini stuff, it'll all move on after a while. It'll just be a pleasant or unpleasant memory. Things keep changing. I went through periods of great Kundalini, great bliss, periods of deep quietness, deepening understanding, and then recognizing my understanding was bullshit. So letting go of it. Nothing to be sought is worthwhile. Just being what you are in the moment is where it's at. And accepting that you don't have to do anything or be anything. You don't have to seek enlightenment because it's just an idea fostered by so many books about teachers and how they reacted and taught their students. But you try to look for some meaning behind what they were doing and you'll never find it. Bye-bye, Vijay.
Okay.
BJ left in order to get a life. He realized there was no life here, no wisdom here, no understanding here. Jay, can you lead satsang?
Sure. I mean, I don't know what I would opt for. I would probably, yeah, I could do it.
Don't tell us ahead of time.
Okay,
Surprise people.
okay.
Bye-bye, everybody. You are now exiting bullshit, entering a new world with Jay.